Well, we're here, Coach T. Round five.
Round five?
Round five. Round four was the truth about control.
Okay.
Round five is where we are right now, and it is the truth about surrender. So, yet we have another episode.
Yes.
I'm excited. Welcome to One Truth Podcast. I am Jacqueline C.
And I'm Coach T.
And we are One Truth Podcast, where every story has one truth.
And one truth is all you need.
Oh,
You got to start with me on your line.
We're getting it. How did you say it a couple of episodes ago? We're trusting the process and we're working for perfection, right? Then no other way to practice it but with us live. That's the one thing about being live, ladies and gentlemen. You come up with bloopers. There are mispronounced words. There's technical difficulty. Some hair might be out of place, but it is all from the heart.
About their hair out of place.
Well, listen, speak for yourself. I'm a woman. So today's episode is on the truth about surrender. And when you surrender, the outcome of you doing so brings through a breakthrough. And what I did when I sat with this, I came up with 4 core points, Coach T. The first one was surrender isn't losing. The second one was control blocks clarity. The third one was surrender requires trust, not understanding. And the fourth one is breakthrough happens afterwards, not before. What came to your mindset first and foremost?
How is a word that's really misunderstood.
Okay.
And the first thing about surrendering is that we have to realize why it's necessary to surrender to the right source or surrender to the right thing or the right frame of mind. What are we surrendering to?
Okay.
That's the main thing. Or who we are surrendering to.
Okay. I love it. I love it. All right. What else? Anything else that came to mind outside of that?
Yeah, to me, people are surrendering all the time. That's the problem. People are surrendering all the time. Either they surrender to their own ideologies or philosophies or whatever. Are they surrendering to lies or are they surrendering to the truth? But we are always surrendering to something for our own control.
All right. Okay. So we are starting with the very same thing, and that is surrendering. When it comes to it, there's a perception surrounding it, if you will. And so one of the things that I thought about was, I said this to you a moment ago, and that is surrendering isn't losing.
Right.
It's not losing. When I think of surrendering, there's an analogy that I want to give. 2 different sports require surrendering before some major injury, and in some cases, a death takes place. And those 2 sports for me, right away, they were boxing and wrestling. When you climb in that ring or you walk upon the mat and you are engaging in this sport, either one of them, pick your choice, you have an obligation as a coach, or which is the boxing, as the coach, to do what they say, that's throw in the towel. That's surrendering. As the athletic individual that's on the mat, the coach can't tell how much pain you're in.
Right.
So you then are responsible for your own surrendering. What I've learned in life is when it comes to surrendering, people don't realize that when you surrender, it's not a loss. So when I'm utilizing these 2 analogies, if that person that's in that wrestling match does not tap out, and I believe it's 3 taps that they give.
Yes.
If they don't tap out, then they cause a lot of pain, which surrendering revolves around, which is why I like these 2 examples. They cause a lot of pain that the body was never made to carry anyways.
Right.
That's what surrendering takes place. You're not made to carry some of the things that we are walking around purposely trying to take on.
Right.
It's for God.
Right.
And so same thing for the boxing match. The trainer, if you will, that's been training you is responsible for knowing when you as the boxer have had enough.
Yes.
And they're supposed to throw in the towel. And in the event they don't, when they put their own reasonings for not doing so, they put that person's body in harm.
So, so technically, it's giving up for your own survival.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's also allowing you to actually release what, like I said, release what you're not meant to carry.
Yeah.
You know, the moment you stop forcing things in life, going back to our topic at hand, which is surrendering, the moment you stop forcing things in life, this is when alignment now can begin.
Mm.
And that alignment is whatever the category may be, because we have all walks of life that, if not, will watch this episode at some point, right?
Mm.
So we don't know where they are in their life span, you know, whether they are have not stepped into their spiritual journey, or whether they are actually have turned their life around and given their life over to God, or whatever the religion is that they are representing in life, right? Because we don't judge, right? The thing is, though, when you start to surrender, you allow alignment to come in. That could be even on a job.
Well, okay, so when we say surrender, we have to understand what surrendering is definitively.
Okay.
And what is it definitively? To
You will usually tell us. Go
to
ahead.
yield or relinquish or give up control of.
Mm-hmm.
So you're yielding something, you're giving way to something.
Okay.
So when I said most people, all of us are surrendering it at one point or another, because we're giving away to something, giving away to our own ideals, giving away to our own tradition, our own culture, or whatever it is, we are giving away to it.
Okay.
So we are surrendering to that thought, that idea, or that way of doing things. But when I talk about surrendering in the spiritual aspect of it, surrendering in a military definition.
Okay.
In military, in war, when you surrender to the greater authority.
Right.
Or you think someone is more powerful than you are, so you surrender for your own survival. Not because you trust them, but you realize that they're more powerful than you.
Okay.
And so, but I understand that the greatest authority, the most powerful, is God himself.
Exactly.
And so you have to surrender to God, or put it this way, surrender to the truth.
Okay.
Because the truth will make you and set you free. So you don't have to suffer things that you suffer needlessly. Like I said, the Russian want to go on going through excruciating pain and suffering all types of aches because you refuse to surrender to that greater force or that greater power. So once you get the knowledge and understanding, you begin to realize that it's not about surrendering to anything, but it's about what I must surrender to in order to prosper and have a better life and get better results for myself.
I love it. And the problem with that is that takes me to the next topic. The reason a lot of us don't surrender is because it kind of stems back to last week's episodes, and that is we want to be in control.
Absolutely.
And when I looked at this yesterday, I thought about it. I said, you know, we as, you know, flesh, we have a habit of gripping, because that's what control is. We grip too tight on something. We want to control it. And when I was looking, I had my grandson yesterday, and I had him out and we were walking. And I noticed he had this grip in his hand. And it took me back to even watching my children as babies. They have their hands closed for whatever reason, just gripping it. So here's another analogy to life, right? And the problem with us as flesh that are on our spiritual journey, or have already reached that side of the spiritual walk, I should say, we have a habit of gripping our hands so tight. And when we do this, it prevents us from being able to see the bigger picture.
Yeah, the point is, why do we want control? Why do we always want to be in control of outcomes?
I don't know why each individual's personal response, and you might have an idea, but we don't know what their individual reason would be.
We think what we know and what we have control of is going to be better for us. We reach our own understanding, so we hold on to it because we think we have a better outcome if we control the situation by our logic or our understanding. That's why people hold on to it, because they think it's better for them. That's why they don't want to relinquish or yield to or let go.
And the problem is, it's a habit that's been formed and you don't even know that you're doing it. And that's kind of something we talked about, the last time around. Sometimes it's unintentionally done. It's like second nature because you're just so used to doing it.
Right.
And it may not be that you're purposely trying to, but because you have been brought up in situations in life where it requires you to be in control. It takes me back to someone who is maybe the eldest in the children. I'm a baby, but I do have an older sister, and she would have been responsible for being in control while mom and dad was at work.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you remember back in those days, the oldest was the one that tended to the rest of the siblings. So because that was who they had to become, it shaped them in that manner. And now it's a habit that's very, very hard to break. And this is why we are doing these segments, so that we can help those individuals as well as ourselves see that sometimes unintentionally you may be doing just that unbeknownst to you, so that you have the ability to take and look in the mirror and see. So even though we're up here talking about this, like I said, we still don't know why someone, and I know you may have provided, your explanation for it, but it may not necessarily be someone's reasoning why, because like I said, maybe they don't realize they're doing it. If they were brought up being in control. Sometimes I've heard people say, if you're an attorney and you're sitting down at dinner with everybody else, you still have this cross-examining kind of conversation that you're having because you're so used to cross-examining. That's unbeknownst. That's not anything that they're intentionally doing. It's just that that's who they become because of the type of career that they have. So this is going to give them the ability to take a step back and understand that, letting go opens doors for the right timing, the direction, the opportunities, things that you can't do if you don't relinquish the control. And that's the important key factor of it, and when you surrender, you create space for God to be able to work his magic.
So that's the power.
Mm-hmm.
Like the baby holding on tight. Why should you release your grip? Why should you yield?
Mm-hmm.
What's the reasoning for feeling like, oh, now I can let go? Now I can yield too. That's the point. You got to have a reason for wanting to let go of the control that you once had.
Mm-hmm.
Letting go, you have kind of come to the understanding that if I let go and let someone else take over, I get the greater benefits. And that's when you say God come. We got to understand that God is in full control.
Exactly.
And he knows the outcome, or he can give us the greater outcome. And so once we get knowledge and understanding,
right,
we say, okay, now I can relax. I don't have to control my life or try to control outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
I can trust you in the matter, in the outcome. But it had to be taught, had to be learned, had to come to understand it, because it's about self-survival.
That part. Surrendering requires trust, not understanding. And when I looked at this, I was like, okay, what is an analogy I can give to someone who watches this episode? We've got 78 to 82% of Americans that are employed, that don't own their own business. I mean, 78 to 82% of the world gets up, whether you're working a 5 or 7 day a week job. You're going to work and you are trusting that you're going to get paid without understanding how payroll works.
But you don't understand how payroll works?
Most people don't. And let me explain to you what I mean by that, because you got to remember, you don't know how payroll works. All you know is you're going in and you're clocking in and you're clocking out. You know how much you're getting paid. You still don't know the logistics of what they're doing.
Well, you don't understand the system.
No one really does. I'm saying the same. Let me go where I'm going with this. What I'm saying is, you're working 5 to 7 days a week, trusting that the person in payroll is going to do their own part without really understanding how that accountant behind the scene is physically doing it. We know up front that we got to go to work and do the job accordingly in order to be on time and do it, because if the work is not completed, we know that we got to do our part. But again, some people don't even have to go to work, because if you're on FMLA, if you're on medical leave, if you call out sick, you're still going to get paid. My point being made is they're still trusting that the person behind the scenes plugs in their time that they're supposed to be plugging in, so that when Friday or 15th or the 30th, whatever the day of the week it is, that you are going to get paid. Where I was going with that is, if you can trust that without fully understanding the process, then you should be able to trust God without fully understanding the process.
Yeah.
Because you put your trust inside of someone that in some cases you've never even met.
Yeah, that's what I said. It says, you saying fully understand. That's why I said you have to have a certain level of understanding for the trusting to even begin the process.
Exactly. So you don't have to know how it will work, which is where I was going with this.
Really.
You just have to trust that it will.
Right.
And so this is what surrendering consists of, Coach. And that's where I was going with that. Remember, I'm not where you are. So I'm speaking to the people that are on a similar walk as I am, so that they can understand that. And you got to kind of remember my terminology is not going to be the same as yours, but we're still saying the same thing, which is about surrendering. So regardless of what level they understand the payroll, the bottom line is they're going to work and they're trusting that somebody behind the scene is going to take and do their paycheck accordingly. And if they can do that with somebody that they don't see every day, they should be able to trust God and just know that when they surrender, understand you don't have to know how it's going to work, but that it will. And then from that, what I've also learned is when you talk about God and how God works, I've realized that God works in the unseen before the actual physical part of it is ever seen, if you will. And so you can't expect him to give you a visual aspect of something every single time, because he doesn't have to. When you're going on this job interview, and if you're doing it from an obedience standpoint, right? It's already worked out. If you don't know how, it's already worked out. You might have been asking God for elevation in life. And now the current employment that you are a part of, all kind of havoc is being created. But you've asked him for something, and you didn't take and step out and do the necessary things that you're supposed to do. And so he's allowing the havoc to take place, because as we said in one of our very first episodes, nothing, be it good or bad, can happen unless he authorizes it. So if he's allowing this havoc, then maybe you might want to sit back and say, what is it that you're trying to show me? Whether it's a test or a time to move on. But in the event it's a time to move on, you can't sit back and stress yourself about how am I going to find another job, or I've got these bills that I got to take and pay. Or even if they tapped you on your shoulder and said your services are no longer needed, you can't have that fear. And I know that's easy to say because I'm not where you are. So for me, flesh-wise, the first thing that's going to kick in is, oh my gosh, my light bill is going to be due. But then I am at a point in my life where I understand after I immediately do that, I snap back and say, okay, God, he's got me. You've never forsaken me. You've brought me to this. You will see me through this. And so then I start to calm down, but it doesn't happen immediately for me, but I get there eventually. So what's your take on surrendering, requiring trust, not understanding?
The scripture says, learn not. Trust God with all your heart. Lean not to your own understanding. Acknowledge him in all your ways, and he shall direct your path.
Okay.
So his ways are higher than yours, and his thoughts are higher than yours. So you trust in him because his sovereignty, that if you let go of your fear or the way you're thinking, God got it all under control.
Okay.
He got it all figured out. But at one point in time, I didn't know that. So I didn't want to let go of how I was brought up, or the system I was brought in, the world system I was brought up in, and how they teach you and how they indoctrinate you how to survive in this world. And so I didn't know I had to surrender to God. That's why I surrendered to the system and trusted the system that was taught to me. And so once I realized that this system is not for my best interest, and it's not working for me as they said it would work for me, so I began to lose trust in the system. And that's when God comes into your life and you start hearing the word of God, because faith comes by hearing, and hearing the word of God.
Right.
How can they hear without a preacher? How can they be sent unless God send them? And so when the word comes, you begin to trust in his word.
Okay.
Because his word tells you that he is the creator of all things.
Exactly.
And because I don't understand it, I see it, and I begin to believe it.
Okay.
And so I hear God really start giving me faith to start believing in Him. Well, now I see a God word is confirming itself. So I begin to trust it's what's been confirmed, or whatever He said in His word, I see it being manifested.
Exactly.
And that's confirmation. So I can relinquish my trust to the confirmation of His word. He's just not talking. He is the authoritative one. And so based on that authority, He did create all things. He did create me. He has plans for me.
Right.
And I know the plans that He has for me to prosper. And so I understand that, oh, His word is true. So I can yield and say, okay, if I'm going to yield to any source or any force, it's going to be to Him, because now I got some knowledge, even though I don't have full understanding.
There you go. There you go. So this now takes us into the fourth core point. That was the spiritual side of it. And you gave a great explanation of what it means to relinquish, what it means to differentiate from the worldly ways versus God ways, as to which ways He would have us to go, right? And that gives someone the ability to understand that, like I said, it might be the way someone is brought up, even our parents, and they love us. But the one thing that our parents have taught us is get up, go to work, keep a job. So you may go on that job, kind of touching back really quick on when you mentioned something a few episodes ago, and that was, when that assignment is done, you're okay with moving on.
Right.
But because someone is in that system where loyalty, sometimes to a fault, is how they operate, they find themselves stressed out on a job. And so if you learn to relinquish and surrender what your feelings are over to God, which is where now breakthroughs happen. Because breakthroughs can't happen when you're gripping tight, controlling every aspect and every little detail. Breakthrough can only happen when you let go, when you surrender. It's not going to do it before. When you do this, then the shift comes in, as I said, when you stop trying to control everything. And it reminds me of a leader. A lot of times the leaders have it bad. They will assign a task at hand to someone, right? And a leader could be in anything. It could be the leader of a household, it could be the leader of a job, it could be a leader of a shift, it could be a leader of a bike club, whatever the case may be. But they ask someone to take on a task at hand, right? But they're so busy trying to dictate everything that person that they supposedly delegated this task to. And now you find them bickering and arguing taking place. So you've got to be able to leave it be. If you delegate it, let it be. Because you trusted them enough to call upon them. And if you trusted them enough to call upon them, regardless of your understanding of it, you have to trust that it will work out. And in the event there are hiccups, going back to our very last episode, it's not a loss, it's a lesson. You may have a platform that now you are allowing someone else to grow from, So you have to be able to do that. What were you going to say?
And you tell them leader to relinquish control if we
Absolutely. If you bring somebody in there
to just navigate to.
If you don't have that capability, and this is no disrespect to a leader because I'm a leader.
Right.
But bottom line, if you don't have the ability to relinquish control, then stop delegating.
And because if you pray to God before you delegate.
That part right there. Hopefully they will all have already done that. Because remember, I said you thought enough of them from the beginning to call them to do the task. Right. So if you thought enough of them in the beginning to call upon them to do the task, then get out of the way and let them do the task. You can't sit there and hover over somebody like a helicopter.
Right.
That is even in parenting for that matter. Because as parents, we're leaders.
That's control.
That's my point. So breakthrough follows surrendering. It does not follow perfection. Let me say that again, because that's speaking on the leaders you're talking about. It doesn't follow perfection, nor does it follow control, and nor does it follow overthinking. It can't.
So the real breakthrough is the realization of the revelation, the revealed knowledge of why you got to let go. That's the real breakthrough before the breakthrough.
That part. And from a secular standpoint, it's that epiphany moment. You have to have an epiphany moment to understand, like I said, you're trying to carry on something that you probably, and in 99% of the times, were not meant to carry.
Mm-hmm.
It's not for us. It's not our burden to bear.
Mm-hmm.
This is bigger than us. It's a task at hand that God has provided us with before we took our first breath. And we have to allow it, instead of the worldly ways to navigate for us. We have to take a step back and determine right from wrong.
So is it our responsibility, because you said the worldly ways,
Mm-hmm.
to introduce the kingdom ways to people about the way we go about life? Because they'll never know unless we introduce them by how we live our life and trust in God and abandon the ways of the world and then embracing the ways of God.
And I won't necessarily say your life.
I said
Well, I'm going to say God's way of life. And the reason I'm saying that, you as a pastor, you may be doing the things that you should be doing, but not all of them are.
kingdom citizens
Okay.
believing in God.
Okay.
Is it our responsibility to show the way? They can see an example of the benefits of surrendering and letting go and letting God.
There we go. There we go. Thank you. You, as citizens of the kingdom, you are supposed to be the beacon of light. You are supposed to be the window that they are able to see the light. Correct. And the problem is, not everybody remembers that. And so, that being said, it is what it is, unfortunately. Closing out, what we want to say is, if nothing else from today, we want you to remember, surrendering is not losing. It's choosing. It's choosing peace over pressure. It's choosing trust, which is the ultimate faith, over fear. It's choosing alignment over control. And when you release what was never yours to carry, you make room for what God has already prepared. So today, loosen your grip, let go, and what's meant for you will never miss you.
That's good.
What's your closing that you want to give to the people?
According to James 4:7, it says, submit yourselves to God. Submit yourself to God. Like surrendering, but it's not a forceful thing. It's a thing to where it's a trust thing. You begin to, not because you're afraid, but you willingly and voluntarily say, okay, I give my trust in you.
Okay.
It says, submit yourselves to God, but resist the devil, and he will flee from you.
Okay.
So it's surrendering, submitting, and resisting.
Okay.
Resist those temptations, those moments when you want to get back into control.
Okay.
And submit to God's authority in his ways and trust his ways. So the devil, temptation wants you to take on those temptations. But you endure those temptations by continuing to submit to God. Because you willingly, it's not because someone came and forced you to.
Okay.
Because they were the greater power. They have encouraged you to believe in him, believe in me. They have lovingly encouraged you. So now you're saying, without force, I willingly yield to your sovereignty, to your power and authority, because I know you care for me. And so when temptation comes, I'm going to resist temptation, resist the devil, and willingly submit to you and your authority. I surrender all to thee. I surrender all.
Okay. Great session today. It caused us to both really have to understand what each other was trying to say. Oh, wait, one thing to the fathers. We won't see you guys next week, Coach. Happy Father's Day. To the fathers out in the world, happy Father's Day to you.
Yes, to the fellows.
Yes.
Yes, to the fellas.
We won't forget you guys.
Please show the fellas some love, because and comparing the two. Well, that's a whole other
Get in
thing.
trouble, Coach
That's a whole
T.
other thing.
Don't get in trouble.
Women have to surrender.
Don't get in trouble. Don't get in trouble.
Submit themselves to giving the fellas a little more love.
You know what? We're going to end this podcast right now before he get in trouble. Coach T, 1 2 Podcast, over and out.
See you next time.